Ba-dum, bum, bum. Windy pig, oh, windy, 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 windy pig.
Alright dudes, been a hot minute, but we're back to finish off the 550. I've done a couple of bits already. That's all the old shims and some shims out of a different bike. Just keep all those in case they ever come handy again. I've already put 4 of these back in, but just because it's the far side of the bike, you won't be able to see it very well on the camera anyway. So all we've done is I've bought the shim sizes I needed. I've matched them up with the right positions off the writing we took down before. Now it's just putting them back in the bike. I've already cleaned the gasket faces off as well, because I didn't think you want to watch that. That was just you can see there's a bit of gasket material still in here. We'll get that cleaned up before we put it back on. I've cleaned out the gasket face on the actual head. So yeah, it's just a case of putting it back together now. So we'll go over to the bike and I'll show you how easy it is. Okay, so as I said, I've already put the first few in. So next thing you do is just to place everything back in place, and we've already got all the channels where valves could be lost covered, so we can't drop the valves in. We put the plugs back in, just resting them in there. So again, shims can't be lost. So we've got number 3 and number 4 intake. So number 3 intake, and it's easy. You just place your shim on your top here, inside your collet thing, on top of your valve stem. Just drop the bucket on top. Now, all I ever do with these is just bang a little bit of oil on the outside of the bucket, just something that, just so it just slides in nicely, and it's got a little bit of a oil film for clearance in there, rather than put it back dry. And then we've got number 4 intake again. Shim on, bit of oil in the bucket. There you go. Make sure it's clean in there. And then we've got number 3 exhaust. Very simple process. Put your shim in, over your bucket. Put your bucket in. Boring as that. Simple as that, really. Oh. If you were doing this long way in advance of the bike ever running again, if you were doing this sort of like, you still had weeks and weeks of work to go before you start the bike up, some people, and I probably would recommend you put some, you use assembly paste instead of oil, just because the oil does run off eventually, whereas assembly paste sort of sits in there and does its job for a long time, and it's ready to, so you've got lubrication there as soon as the engine starts up. Whereas I'm going to do this, I'm probably going to start this today if I can, so I'm not in that sort of mad rush. Right, next thing to do, just put the cams back in. I'm just going to double check in the book what position I want the timing to be at before the cranks go in. There usually is in these books a good diagram, so let me see if I can find it. Cams. Camshafts, refitting 107. So here, holding taut the cam chain to prevent it from snagging and using only the engine turning hexagon on the crankshaft pistons of 1 and 4 cylinders at top dead centre. Oh, sorry, I missed the line. Use only the engine turning hexagon on the crankshaft right hand end. Rotate the crankshaft forwards, i.e. clockwise, until the pistons of 1 and 4 cylinders at top dead centre. This is when the 1.4 T mark stamped on the ATU ignition of igniter rotor is aligned exactly in the position while the valve timing is set, and check that every stage so it's not moved. That's it. So we need T14, which I think we're probably at. We are indeed still at T14, so that's good. So we can fit the camshaft. So if I remember rightly, this is the exhaust one. And goes in this way. I'll just check this, keep this page open because it's always good just to have it just for reference, because even if you've done it a million times, you can make these mistakes. Exhaust camshaft. Z5, right. So what you've got on here now, hopefully you can see this. You've got, once you know which is your exhaust camshaft, which we know this one is because I put the cable tie on the other one. You've got an exhaust line there, and I think on this bike it lines up with the, I'm fairly sure, top of the casing, yeah. So again, you'll check what your bike is like. For this one, you always do the exhaust side first because that side has to be taut because your tensioner is on the intake side. So you can leave this, you want to have no slack on this side once you put it all together. And then any slack is here is taken up by the cam chain tensioner. So first thing we've got to do is just start pulling all these rags out. And do just double check, because I've done it, I've seen it happen. I've not done it myself yet, but I've seen it happen where people put these rags in to stop stuff going missing and leave one down the bottom there. And you'd be well upset because you'd start your engine up and you just end up with a rag dragging around inside your engine. Next thing we've got to cut that cable tie off and get my screwdriver back. And this is where we've got to be careful not to drop this cam chain, because if I drop that cam chain down there, I'll be well upset. Very upset indeed. I'm going to rest that in there for a second. Oh, let's put it up here. Wait for a second. And again, you don't drop anything into the engine. So you just got to make sure you're being careful now not to drop anything down that hole, because otherwise you'll be in a world of fucking annoyance. That's that. That's out of the way. Get that out of the way. Right. Right, that's on there. Good. So let's get this camshaft in. Sorry about that. I had to disappear for a second. Right, first what we've got to do is fit this exhaust camshaft. So we've got the timing set to timing mark on 1.4. We've got the exhaust camshaft in hand. Now the tricky bit here is you've got to make sure you've got as much tension as possible on this sort of front run, because there's no tension on this side, so that has to be taut. So that when you do start turning the engine over, you're not, it's just that's fully tight on there. Because the tension is this side, so holding the tension, and there's also, this engine's got a tensioner in the top as well. So we've got to pull that as tight as we can. And also you've got to think about where exactly on the chain on the mark on the chain sits. So some bikes there'll be a mark and it'll be on the roller. Some it's between two rollers. I believe on this it's I can't remember exactly, but I think it's on the roller. I'm just gonna double check in the book now in a second. I believe the exhaust side, the EX mark, is on a roller. Let's just double check. So you usually get a diagram like this. So yeah, I'll say there, look. So it's on the roller there. Yeah. So for the ZX550 A1A1L, it's this one here. So it's the first one after. So it should be this one. Should be this one. Because my bike isn't an A1 or an A1L. But is mine after that? If mine's after the A1 bikes, then I should think I'll be the A1 side of things. Because mine's an 87. I think this guy's book's only up to 84. No, let's do it on the. No, let's ignore that. Let's just do it on the. So it's the EX market on the roller. So I don't know how much of this you can see. I can't see it well with this light. I'm going to put this light down a bit. It might bug up the camera a little bit, but I need to see what I'm doing. It's on that roller. It's got to be in it. I can't. That'll pull in. That'll pull down that side. I think that's got to be it. If it's any less than that, and it won't be tight. But I think that because that camshaft will pull in. There's the other thing you got to remember is these camshafts, because these are quite up, that's up in the air there. That will pull in a bit and probably pull that side up because this side's up in the air. So let's try that. I'm not sure. We might have to take this out again. Sometimes it's a bit of trial and error exactly how you get them in, especially because I've left the tensioner in on this one side, so that can be a bit of an arse for getting these chains right. Because as you can see, look, that doesn't look like you've got much chain left there. So maybe I've made what we've done here then. Maybe I haven't got something caught there. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Just being silly. Yeah, there's plenty there now. Right, what do I say? On the roller. Right, that's on the roller. There's plenty of chain there for that side. Let's put these caps on. For putting the caps back, we know they were marked up and they had a direction on them. If you've forgotten where they were, in here, in the casting, I don't know how you can see that. There's an arrow and a 7 and 8, so that's arrow pointing that way, 7, 8. Same under this one, you'll have an arrow pointing that way, and that'll be 3, and that'll be 4. Just so you know where the cam caps go back in again. Got to make sure you get them in the right places, because otherwise you get them in the wrong order, and then you have the wrong cam caps, because the caps are sort of machined for each cam. Best to put a bit of oil on them as well. Just so they're lubricated. They do have an oil feed to them, but it takes a few seconds for the oil pressure to get up the end of here. So best just to put a bit of oil on them. And again, if you were doing this sort of fresh, as it were, for all new clean parts, they've been blasted or cleaned or anything, and you weren't putting the engine back together straight away, if you were going to be sort of like possibly, it's going to be some time between you doing this bit of the job and the next bit of the job, and a while before it starts, it might be sensible to get yourself some assembly paste. Just oil can run off things and work its way back down to the bottom of the engine as it's designed to, whereas assembly paste sticks to sticks to the parts, so you don't end up with a situation where you've lost all the lubrication before you even start. Where's number 3 then? 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, please. If you want to know order, there's also usually an order of tightening up these cam caps. I tend to just nip them all up sort of a bit at a time and then torque them down in the right order. So just nip them up a little bit at a time. Move that light up out of the way a bit more. You go up there? It's better. So yeah, just torque everything up a little bit. So just get everything tightened down so everything's got a... Oh, what's happened there? It's gone pop. I've just popped that end a bit, that's all. I didn't put any oil on those two that side, did I? I've just got to do that before I forget. Just so everything's got a bit of oil in it. Putting tools on the floor, that's a big no-no. See, now that doesn't look at lines, but I wonder if it is supposed to be the other one on the A1AL side, because that's definitely... It's a bit short on the timer mark. So... If I come back 2 more... wrong, isn't it? Hasn't done that. Let's point into that roller. Can't get any more tension on there. That's got to be in it. Yeah. That's on T14. Yeah, it's got to be it. Right. Again, just double check yourself. Always never hurts to check it again and again. Right, let's get these tightened up a bit. Right, that's everything nipped up, but nothing quite tightened right down. I'm just going to take the opportunity to fit the. I'm just going to take the cam chain tensioner cap back off, which was on there before, just so I can push the cam chain back by hand. I put it back in there because I didn't want to lose it. It's got a little spring in it, and if I lost that spring, I'll be well upset. Got him, and the spring, good. So we should better push that back now. Tensioner. Yeah, get that back there, get out there, you. Next thing is to fit this other side. So, for that first one, it was the EX mark we were looking for. On this, normally it's the V5 mark, but it depends, it changes on bikes. There's a Z5 mark on this one. You can just about see on there, I think, Z5. That's got to line up with the casing on this. And you also tend to get, not always, but you often get a count of how many links there are, or how many pins on the chain. This is 44, so I think on this one, if I remember rightly, I'll double check it in a sec, the Z5 mark sits between 43rd and 44th pins, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, so it's those two there, 43 and 44. So I'll get that in right there. Get that in there. Get the rest of that on there and just put that in place. That should be how it wants to be, in theory. So I'm just going to get this in the right position there. Just double check it again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 41, 42, 43, and then 44. Yeah, right, that's there. So let's get these caps on then. A bit of oil first. And all of these caps.
Windy pig, windy pig.
Good. I'm pretty confident we got this right, because that line is not quite on that one. They both tip back a little bit. Pretty sure this line and mark isn't quite lined up on here. But I'm confident now we've got this right. If you have to take it apart a couple of times, this is why I don't tend to torque anything down until I'm sure. So that these are all nipped up but not torqued. I'll nip these up now and not torque them. We'll run the engine round so make sure we haven't got any horrible noises or anything clacking or any resistance. Make sure we haven't sort of caught any valves or anything. And then we'll put it all back together. I will check the valve clearances. Mistakes can be made, and I'd rather find out before I start the motor. But if I've made an error in my calculations, I've not made one before. And also, we're working in, thousandths of a millimetre most of this time. So, if you're out by 0.02 on an engine like this, it's not going to make a fuck of a difference. Maybe on some fucking Billy Whiz Super Panigale it will, and you might want to be a bit more careful. But for these old motors, I think you'd be hard pressed to destroy one. All in all honesty, very hard pressed to blow one up. As long as the valves don't touch the pistons, you'll just get shit running. If the valves touch the pistons, obviously you've made a terrible error. But hopefully we get this on here. I might get this started up today, he says. You never know. Right, that's everything nipped up. Nothing torqued down. Let's get the cam chain tensioner back together. Get that on there. Where's the thing? God, everything's so fucking oily. It's a bit awkward, this. Got him in the end. Yeah, so T mark 15. Let's go. Get that there. Yep, perfect. So as you can see, T15 here, or 14, sorry, 5. EX line lined up with top of the case. Z4 just behind the case there. That's perfect, I think, because when that tension is on there, that will pull that camshaft around a little bit further. Should do anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should go back a touch just to let that tension off of there. No, I won't do it, will it? How can we get tension off there? We can't, can we, really? We can't. We'll just have to live with that. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. We counted the number of teeth, it's fine. So when that tensioner goes on there, when that clamps down, it'll pull those camshaft around a touch. But it's all tensioned up at the minute, so that's good. I'm going to undo the tensioner again, because that's supposed to be the last thing you do. Just so we can pull that camshaft around a little bit. When the case goes on. Just wanted to check it first. So that's taking that tension out of there. I think I can probably reach it from in here. No, probably not. There we go. That's better. That should be how it is. Because it has a top tension on here first before we put a back tension on. But I'm happy with that. T14. We'll do it again. Just I'm just going to hold that tension with my finger. Oh, no, that was a mistake. No, we don't do that. We won't do anything now. We'll leave that as it is. Because the last thing I want to do is have to move everything. So next thing I've got to do is just torque these cam cap bolts down. So there is an order for these. It's normally, it changes depending on manufacturer. I think for these Kawasaki's that are central cam chain path, I am almost certain it is in out on the first pair, inside outside on the outside pair, if that makes sense. So motor side of the first one, so left right, sitting looking this way, of the inner pair then the outer pair. They're all nipped up to a point. I'm just going to check what the torque spec is. Right, got called away there again. So just got to torque these bolts down. But gives me a factor of kilogram force meters of 1.2. My little torque wrench is in kilogram force centimeters, but luckily because it's metric, just turn it up. So 1.2 is about 120. So we need 120 kilogram force centimeters. So we go to 120 to there. And there is an order, like I said. So the order is inside to outside, inside pair, and then outside pair. So inner engine bolt, outer engine bolt, 2 pair, and then the outer 2 pair. So I'm just going to do these as we go. One, 2, then the inner again. With these little torque wrenches, you want to just make sure if you're using extension, you are doing it as vertically as possible. Otherwise, you can end up with a bit of trouble. It's just less accurate. I know we're only working in kilogram force centimeters. It's not massive amounts of torque, but you want to get it right for this sort of thing, really, if you can. Inner, and then outer, and same again on this side. Inner bolt first, and outer bolt, inner bolt, outer bolt, last 4. And that, my friends, is that. So that is a full, well, not quite a full, but a valve check shim replacement job done. I'm just going to put my torque wrench back to 0. Tools on the floor, which I hate, but it's what it is for now. So what I'll just do, one last job, is we'll have a look at what we should have on, what our measured clearances should be now that we've got to this point, and see how accurate we are. And then it's just a case of putting the head back on, which I won't film because it's boring, and firing the engine back up again. So let's have a look what we got here. We can get to 4 on the intake side. So if we've got this right, this should now be 0.15 on the intake of, oh no, I'm on 4, and I so 4 we can't read because I've spit oil on it. No. So number 4 exhaust. So number 4 exhaust should be 0.23. If we've got this right, there he is, 0.23. And that is good. That's unhelpfully in the way. Right, let's figure this out. So we would have put 0.08 was our original measurement on 4 intake. There was a 235 in there. I imagine we put a 225 in to make it 0.18. So let's check that. Let's do 0.18 on the intake side because we can get to that one. Shall we? 0.18, there he is. Let's see what it comes out at. Spot on. 0.18. We got to the intake. So number 1 intake should be exactly 0.15. No, sorry. Number 1 intake should be exactly 0.2. So let's find 0.2 on our doodah. There he is, spot on. So we've done it. So that's all those valves shimmed up, all the clearances closer to stock, all the cams back on. And as you can see, it's quite easy. I mean, I know the cam put back on job can be a bit fiddly, getting the tension right. And again, hopefully you'll have an engine where you can get the cam chain tension right. You haven't got to fuck about like I did a bit. But you just got to follow the book. You know, like we said, follow the markings. You know, we've got our intake exhaust mark there. We've got our Z5 mark there. We've got a T mark here. We've got the number of rollers or number of pins or however it's counted by your book. It's all straightforward if you're methodical about it. As long as you give everything in order and you don't lose anything, it's very straightforward. But yeah, thanks for watching that. Sorry it's been a bit long-winded and took me a bit of time to get it finished. I'll put the cover back on with a new gasket, and see if the engine runs, and I'll let you know. But yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Ba-dum, bum, bum. Windy pig,